useful for you. Okay, whoa, we've got a few already. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll play some Blitz games because I don't actually have that long. So let's play some Blitz games. Oh, okay. In tomorrow's video, by the way, we actually have a similar variation to this, except with knight to f3 first. So that's going to be very useful for a lot of you. I do not know this. I've got to be honest. That's a move. How's it going, Will? Good to see you. What is this? Let's take. Let's take. Okay, wow. I'm getting completely out prepped here, so I'm a little bit terrified. To be honest, I'm a little bit terrified. Wow, 1600 with either some mad prep or just playing incredibly quickly. Also, can we keep the challenges unrated, please? To be fair, I didn't actually say that at the start. By Laszlo Polgar. Is that the father of Judith and Susan? I assume that's the father. Okay. Let's just develop. I mean, you know, obviously this is good. Let's take. So we're currently up a pawn, but I mean, our pawns are not particularly impressive, and nor is our position. This is a little bit of a dire position, to be totally honest, but it is what it is. We still play chess. Still play chess. You still can't take unless you go g4, which I will be very happy about. Let's get castled. Yeah, okay. I think I can take this. I mean, I'd rather not give up my bishop, but I think it's okay. Let's go rook e8. Still can't take because of this. Yeah, g4 to be expected. And I think this is okay for me. I mean, I've got an isolated d-pawn, which is not great. But I wouldn't say white's position is particularly spectacular. f6 is kind of a move, but Oof. How do I want to do this? Yeah, let's go queen b6. Let's go queen b6. I mean, I can't save the pawn, obviously. Yeah, I didn't want to see queen takes. That's not what I wanted to see. Yeah, because now b2 is fine, and also d5 is under attack, and I don't have this because of takes. So I think I'm just going to have to go for a queen trade. And the endgame's interesting, but I think it's probably better for white, although I do have this very nice move. At least I think it's very nice. Knight to c5, and the intention should be clear. And we block up the e-file, and we also hit the bishop. We're also covering any potential forks. The knight on f5 is a good piece, but I don't think it's anything to be particularly scared of. Okay. Yeah, let's go rook a to c8. The a pawn is hanging, but so is the c pawn, which I think is more important. So my opponent defends the c pawn. Let's go. I'm going to go b6, which might seem counterintuitive because they're on dark squares for the bishop. You might be saying a6 is better, but I feel like restricting this bishop's movement is more important. Oh, this is annoying. Yeah, we've got to go f6. Be aware of this. Currently, it is guarded, and you can't take the knight first because I'll just take back with the rook, and then everything should be okay. That's an interesting move. Let's do this. Whereabouts are you from? Yeah, my accent is a bit of a mix. I'm in sort of the middle of the UK, in England near Wales. Also, I've got no increment, so I'm gonna have to answer that afterwards because I'm gonna have to go speed mode right now, which I am not particularly good at. Oof. Yeah, no, this is not great. Okay, let's do this. I need to make sure my rook's defended. I know this could be really scary looking, but I think it's okay. And this endgame actually looks alright for me. if everything gets traded, I don't think it's too bad. I mean, the bishop's probably better than the knight, but the knight's decent. And we do have pawns on dark squares that are potentially vulnerable to the bishop. But, you know, we'll live with it. Snag a pawn. I think this is winning. Yeah, this is winning. If I have time. Yeah, now I'll just go grab these pawns. Oh my god. I'm actually just going to get flagged. Oh my god, I got flagged. That's... That's what I get for playing no increment. Also, yeah, please keep the games unrated. GG. That was such a dumb game. That was great. Good game, man. Good game. Oh. No, I mean, I used way too much time in the opening. It was a bit silly. Yeah, no. So I'm from England, like kind of near Wales. And yeah, basically my accent is a bit of a mix. Steven, thank you very much for the support. Yeah, the channel's been blowing up since like the last live stream. It's been pretty sick. Yeah, honestly, don't worry about it, Gristle. It's all right. Will, it's all good, mate. It's all good. It was terrible time management from me anyway. That was completely my bad. I believe c5 is the idea. A quick c5. And there's some interesting lines like b6, b4, I think. I think b4 is the best move. And there's like a5 and knight to a4. And I believe that line is really strong for white. Now you should be able to see why the knight can't take on b4. Because queen to a4 check picks up the knight. My opponent takes. I believe we should take back with the b pawn. I don't watch cricket, no. I'm more of a football guy. More of a football guy. Yeah, a lot of people here play the move a5. And by the way, for a 1000 rated player, that's some pretty decent opening from my opponent. So fair play. Does it have to be blitz? Blitz or bullet? Just with increment, please. Unrated. I stopped playing chess because I linked chess with intelligence. Whenever I lost a game, thought I was low IQ. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. JK Jax, thank you for the support. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. All right, this is a very nice position. Obviously, it looks like this diagonal is quite weak, but like the bishop can't get involved because we have the pawn on c5. I think in one of the videos that I did relatively recently, I had this sort of position. Will, bruv, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Did not have to do that. Will is one of the channel members, by the way, so top guy. Yeah, a lot of love. Sorry, I was saying, so we had a similar position to this in one of the yeah, that is definitely a threat. In one of the recent videos, and essentially I was saying if this pawn was like back on c2, I'd argue the position is better for black, but the whole point of this line of the Panov is that this c5 pawn just suffocates the black position. That's like the main idea of the line. Okay, so queen b4. I've got to be honest, I mean, you're threatening this, sure, but I believe we can just go knight takes on d5, and that looks pretty crushing. Obviously, the queen is double attacked, and therefore you can't take the knight because I'll take your queen. It might be best for black to give up the queen for 2 pieces, But obviously that isn't enough. I can just castle, and black has nothing. Really generous of you, by the way, Will. Yeah, very generous. Appreciate it. So the queen goes back, which covers knight takes c7, which is probably one of the better moves. Now, of course, you could take the knight or the bishop, but I think more accurate would probably be rook to b1, because we hit the queen again. And now the queen still has to keep an eye on the c7 square. And to be fair, the queen doesn't actually have that many moves. Yeah, d7 seems like the only safe square for the queen to go to. So now we should decide which piece to take. I think taking the bishop makes the most sense. Partially because getting the bishop pair is good. And secondly, because if we take the knight, then after bishop takes, we can't really defend our d-pawn that well. Technically, we have bishop to e3, and we always have bishop b5 check discoveries if the queen ends up on d4. But why activate the black pieces like that? Taking the bishop seems better because, like I say, we get the bishop off the board, and my opponent takes with the king. I mean, that's rough. That's rough. So we could castle. If we castle, take, bishop e3, queen moves to like h4. It seems easier just to defend the pawn, to be honest. No need to overcomplicate things. I had someone inquiring about coaching today, actually, and I was having a look through some of his games because he was asking something that he can work on in the meantime before we have a call. And I was saying to him, like, he's really good at spotting tactics, but I was saying, like, you are very good at tactics, but you miss obvious things, which, like, you're clearly good enough to see. And by the way, I've just missed that. Luckily, my opponent didn't play it. It would have been fine if my opponent played that. The position is dominant anyway. So I was saying, like, you're great at tactics, but what I want you to do is when you see a tactic, I want you to look for a more simple option if there is one available. By the way, we have a nice tactic here. I don't do free coaching. No, it is paid, but like you can get a lot of education from just watching the videos themselves, which are obviously free. So don't worry about that if it's not for you. But yeah, after knight to e5, my opponent times out, but we're going to take the pawn on f7, and black is probably getting mated. So GG Dil Chow. Good opening knowledge, by the way. Good opening knowledge. All of this seems pretty decent. Yeah, c5 is the move here, and it's a very interesting game from there. Okay. What part of the UK are you in? Best friends in London. So I'm in a county called Shropshire, which is essentially just countryside. Okay, we get the Vienna Gambit. Hell yeah. That's awesome. My opponent knows the main line. Okay. I have no idea what a fug shake is, so absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, so if you guys have watched any of my content, you will know this position, or you should know this position, and I have a full Vienna course on my channel if you want to learn it for yourself. My opponent takes on c3. That is a blunder. That is a blunder. And you might think, like, how on earth can knight c6 be a blunder? You're just applying pressure to the center. The problem is I get the move d4 in, and I build this really strong pawn chain, right? Dominating the central squares, preparing bishop d3, something like knight e2 castles. Queen g3 would blunder a queen, by the way. Even though queen g3, knight to f3 is a common setup, don't play it here. The problem is, with the knight on c6, my central squares are very well covered. The knight is not strong enough to break through. And you don't have c5 anymore, which is the common way to try and put pressure on the strong center. But with the knight on c6, you can't play this. So it's, yeah, it's a very, very strong position. One thing we have to watch for is the move f6. That's one thing we have to be aware of. Trying to open up lines against my queen. So watch for that. Watch for that. Will's been to Shropshire a couple times. Place called Ludlow. Yeah, Ludlow is like the other side of the county for me. So I don't know if I've actually been there. Shropshire's a relatively large place for the amount of people that live here. But Ludlow's got a very cool castle. I'm also near Shrewsbury, which is like the other only place of note. My opponent does go f6, yeah. And this is definitely the way to try and fight against the setup that I'm playing. And I believe I have to go queen to h5 here, targeting the h7 pawn. And on g6, I believe I have to go for this sacrifice. I know queen h5 is definitely the move, though. I know that. Oh, Jack, don't worry. If you want to ask about that, you can drop me an email, which is linked somewhere on my channel. So yeah, don't worry about it, mate. What's your bullet rating? Mate, I do not play bullet. It's probably horrific, like 1800 something, which I'm not trying to be big-headed, but like my blitz is over 2200. So unrelated question, what is your bench? The last time I did like a proper barbell flat bench was maybe 2 years ago, and I think I did 130. But now I just use dumbbells and cables. I don't do a whole lot of barbell. And I tend to rep like 42s on incline dumbbell press. Is there a queue to challenge you? Looking to get decimated. Nah, literally just send me a challenge on chess.com. Like, just do that. Okay, f5, yeah. So g6 is an incredibly scary line to have to go for. So I do not blame my opponent for playing f5 instead. But now, by inducing the move f5, one, of course, my opponent has wasted time, which is just good for us. Secondly, this e-pawn is never getting targeted ever again because the d-pawn and the f-pawn are both too far advanced. So you can't challenge the e-pawn. And you can't challenge the d-pawn either. You also can't play b5, b4 to challenge the c-pawn. So you just can't do anything about this insanely strong pawn structure just right in the middle of your position. Knight f4 is a very common idea in these positions. The knight is just a monster piece. And bishop f7, which is the natural move, I think we can probably just go ahead and take on f5. I don't see an issue with that. I'm 21 years old, Calamity. 21. Okay. So we could go for this, which is equal material. Except we do win the f5 pawn at the end of the line. So we go up a pawn, and the black pawn structure is terrible. But we can do better than that. Firstly, I think we can just go ahead and take with the knight. And there's a couple of intricacies here you have to be aware of. So if take, king moves, we take the bishop. Easy. Mate in 3? Is it? Maybe. Maybe I'm missing something. You also had to consider, after knight takes, bishop to f7, pinning the knight to the queen, but you have knight takes e7 with check there, so it's fine. You get out of the situation. And now we can give a check first, forcing the king back to g8, which is good, because now we take the bishop with check. I mean, we're going to win the bishop regardless, but we might as well do it with check. Now we can take on f5, threatening the rook, because the rook is obviously pinned. This is why I love the Vienna so much, by the way, guys. Bishop h6 looks crushing. That looks crushing. Forcing the queen to move. Now I think we can deliver this check, forcing the king to the corner, and then we can take the rook. Yeah, we can just take the rook. There's probably other ways to mate here. I mean, for example, you probably had here. No, wait, that doesn't work. Good job I didn't play that. How old was I when I started playing chess? To be fair, Node, I think I probably got through that kind of rating range before I really started playing online. It might have been when I just played on Chess Kid when I was younger. Hi from Texas. Rapid went from 850 to 1150. That's really good. That's really good for 3 months. Good stuff, mate. Okay, let's go. I recognize this name from the comment section, JK Jax. I know you are active in the comments, so you get the challenge. Okay. So this is the position that we had in the video that I played today, which was an awesome game if you haven't seen it, by the way, but he takes, which is the best line, I think. I think it's the most challenging line. And this is a good way for white to go about this. Black essentially has to play e6 now to immediately apply pressure to the c5 pawn, because if we start trying to go bishop f5 followed by e6, white is just going to defend the pawns, and we're not going to win the pawns back. It's just not going to happen. So let's take on c5. What's my major in college? Well, it's like, I mean, it's university in the UK. I think we have this. Oh, no, there's knight here. There's knight here. And, yeah, that's fine. So let's go queen to b6. So I do history, but I'm almost done with it. I actually just finished my dissertation on Bobby Fischer. Well, mostly Bobby Fischer. And like public perceptions of chess players in America in the 20th century, which I know is a very obscure dissertation, but I really enjoyed it. It was really fun actually to write. This is one of those positions where I actually don't know which piece I should take with, because I normally take with the pawn, but often the computer has a go at me and prefers me to take with the queen. I think taking with the pawn makes more sense, though, because knight d4 would hit the queen, and also I like having this available. I could push a5 followed by that to stop any b4 ideas in the future. That's also true. Although, I mean, b4, I can just drop the bishop back. That's not a problem. Obviously, f2 is hanging for the time being. Chess knowledge with h1. How's it going, mate? Martin, how's it going? Good to see you. Go bishop to a6. We have the only light squared bishop. I maybe should have thrown in a5 first, to be honest. That might have been a bit inaccurate, but okay, whatever. Whatever. Oh, I just missed that. But it's fine, my opponent forces me to do it. That was the only safe square for the bishop. Oh, man. Okay, so we're up and exchanging a pawn. This is clearly the idea. Let's go knight to f5 to kick the queen. Stop this, and also do this. Computer hates bishop a6. Yeah, I feel like a5 is probably better, I would guess. Wait, no, bishop a6 just wins the f2 pawn, doesn't it? Or, oh no, does white go b4 first? Yeah, b4 first. So we probably do need to go a5. But okay, we get away with it. Can I play 10 minutes? Normally, I would say yes. However, like I said, I'm going to have to go pretty soon. So we're going to keep these to relatively short games, please. Just so more people can get games, which is obviously better for everybody, right? More chess. Okay, this is a very pleasant position. There's never any bishop e3 now, because that's fully covered as well. How often do I stream? Basically just when I can. How can we play against you? My username's down here. I think there's a link to my profile down in the description of the video as well. So you can just use either of those. And I kind of just pick someone at random. So that's about it. Okay. c5, I kind of just want to open up lines for my rooks, because I think my bishop, my knight, and my queen are optimally placed. So now I'm trying to open up more lines. You should take a day to play some variants, Bughouse or 4-player chess. Oh, I just kind of blundered that. Okay, good find. I completely blundered that. That's annoying, admittedly. Let's go for this. Just apply pressure. I mean, I'm going to lose the rook anyway. I'm still up a pawn with, I would say, a pretty commanding position, so I'm not too concerned. The c3 pawn and the a2 pawn are both very weak, but that was a silly thing to blunder. What's my favorite thing about chess? My favorite thing about chess, I would say, is that it's completely objective. There's no luck involved in terms of, if you lose, like, it is your fault. If you win, you did that. You can't make excuses, particularly. There's no, like, teammates to blame. There's no external factors really to blame. It's just you versus your opponent, and like the better player wins. And I love that about chess. So that's my favorite thing, like the pure objectivity about it. Okay, Have I tried playing freestyle? Yeah, I actually quite enjoy the game mode. It's actually quite fun. All right, I'm going to put the queen back on c5. I know I've just moved my queen back and forth because the bishop hit the queen, but I really like the queen on the c5 square. Just hitting a lot of different things. I really like it. You have a long-term plan for chess. To be honest, like, I don't know if I'm ever going to seriously compete for a title. I think I've recently realized I think I could be good enough to go for a title. But do I have the desire is a different question. Your access, you've played chess for a decade. Were you consistent? Relatively, yeah. I didn't know my account's been open for a decade. That's nuts. Okay, if take. Let's start with h6, just to give my king some breathing room. Yeah, I think I've realized, like, maybe I can go for a title if I really try. But I don't know if I want to really try. It's also a good move from my opponent. No worries, Rawhide. I mean, it's chess. There's no need to, like, swear or anything, really. There's not really a point. Yeah, logical move. You have to wait until the game is over. Okay, now I can take here because I keep an eye on my pawn, and there we go. The difference is when I take on c3 in the previous line, the a-pawn hangs, which I didn't really like. Okay, let's offer a queen trade and threaten some invasions. I think we have a forced mate. Check, check. I'm trying to get my queen to this diagonal by force. Check, queen blocks, and mate. Awesome. Awesome. And the challenges come rolling in. GG, JK Jax. You fought back very well that game. Fought back really well, so good stuff. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to compete for a title at some point. It would be interesting. Scotty, your message does show up. Your message should be showing up just fine. I can see it. Okay. Fritz Friedrich. Let's go. We have another Caro. Unsurprising. And yeah, I love the Panov attack. It's really strong. It's a really strong. That's a very early time to be playing g6. I don't know if you're supposed to play it just yet. Can I do this? Although if this, maybe just... Okay, we're going to start with knight c3. I've never seen... Whoops. I've never seen bishop to... Well, g6, bishop, g7 so early. Normally you bring the knights out and then go g6, which is the line that I like to play. If, here... Yeah, I guess you just win this pawn back. I think I should play pawn takes then. Keep the d-file shut. Keep the d-file shut. Go for this. Why not, though? I don't see how one could not have the desire for a title. I get what you're saying. The thing is, though, that if I were to go for a title, like, the amount of dedication and work that it would take, I'm concerned that I would lose my enjoyment of the game by doing that, right? See you later, JK Jax. Good to see you, and good game as well. Okay, let's play a very nice move, a5, stopping knight to b6, which would obviously hit the bishop and the pawn. If this, I can just drop the bishop back. I can consider queen to b3 as well, actually, which the more I look at it, I kind of like. All right, rook e8. I can consider rook to e1. There's a few things I can consider. I can consider knight to e5, trying to go d6 with some interesting complications. If here, take. Knight here, that's a little bit scary. Let's start with rook e1. Scotty, thank you for the support. I appreciate it, mate. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it. I'm not really sure what this move does. The knight has no real way into the game. I think we should probably move our knight into the game. Makes sense to me. Because, you know, my opponent's no longer watching that square. Okay. Okay. This is an important moment. Now, this looks tempting, but there's e6 at the end of the line and we get nowhere. What if we go d6 first, though, threatening to take on f7? If knight takes, pawn takes... I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Don't think it's necessary. Let's just bring the bishop out and defend the knight. I think that would be a bit stronger. Sorry if I'm not keeping up with the chat, by the way. This is a very interesting game, and I'm very focused on it because this is, yeah, pretty interesting. Do I have this? No. You take and then drop the bishop back. Okay, let's go queen b3. Let's go queen b3. Let's get all the pieces involved. You can see how we could be setting things up there. That's not scary at all. Let's drop the bishop back. This is just a dopamine sort of thing, right? You hit the bishop, cool. I don't actually care. It's just going to drop back. Okay, okay. d6, knight take, pawn takes. Yeah, I think I like that. I like that. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you. Yeah, this looks really strong. And of course, black could play e6 to close this down. Oh, well, that just looks really bad. Let's take. Let's take. It's actually not so simple. Well, I think we should go ahead and take the rook. That seems obvious. Now, let's just keep taking things. Let's take. I do play the Centurion system, quote unquote, in my own games, and they work pretty. It works pretty well. It works pretty well. I really enjoy it. If you have no idea what I'm referring to, it's a line against the London system that I play. D4, C6, Bishop F4, Queen B6 scores very well. Okay, let's hang around a little bit. If this, then this, I think. Studying a lot makes you realize there's more to the game than what you see at your level. Yeah, fair point, fair point. I'm not sure I really have the time to be studying too much, I think is my problem. I think that's my problem. Just because I've got a lot going on in life in general, and a lot changing in the next several months, so it'd be difficult to be like properly studying chess, you know? Also, I really hope I have increment. I have no idea if I've got increment. I don't know. I think I do. Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. My opponent's chasing my queen around, but eventually the attacks are going to end. Let's counterattack. Let's offer a queen trade. That seems like a good idea. There we go. Awesome. This is probably a threat. I'm gonna, even though I'm not winning the bishop, I'm still gonna play it. This doesn't work because I hang back rank mate. Let's go h4 to get out of any back rank mates. Just realized I allowed this. That's not good. Let's do this to defend. Oh, I could have chosen this as well. Let's do this now. Just shut down this counterplay. Let's take. F3 just to restrict the knight and the bishop. Opponent's fighting well. I'm probably missing some ideas. I'm sure I am. Sure I am missing some ideas, but it's fine. Let's do this. Which should simplify things. I support Wolves. Wolves is my team. And we're on an insane run right now. So it's a good time to be a Wolves fan. Yeah, Steven, you're right. You are correct. Okay, let's take. That's a free piece. Thank you. Let's take. This pawn is not scary. My king is in the vicinity to defend at all times. So the pawn is never getting through. Take. And yeah, the king is almost mated. We have this mate. If my opponent allows it. I'm glad. Thank you for playing Fritz as a good game. Very interesting game. Oh no, I think Lavs, one of the moderators on the channel, one of the day ones, I think he plays the early G6 actually. And it's a legitimate gambit line, so that's something to consider. I explain rock lifting. Oh, you mean, sorry, I read that wrong. Rook lifting. Rook lifting is literally where you lift the rook up and across. So let's say you have a kingside attack, and I want to get my rook to the g file to attack my opponent. I might go h4, rook h3, rook g3, get the rook. I lift the rook like above the pawns and swing it, right? That's a rook lift. Okay, GG. Let's go for, I think I may have time for one more game. Let's go Tugget. All right. What's the best way to get better at tactics? Puzzles, videos. Okay, my opponent plays the accelerated Panov. So I'm going to... It'll probably transpose into a normal Panov, depending on if my opponent pushes d4 early or not. Yeah, Chess Tempo is a really good website. I'm a big fan of it. Okay, this transposes to one of the lines of the Panov, which is what I was playing against my opponent last game. And I really like the g6 lines, but I'd like to wait a little bit. Okay, yeah. If knight c3, then we'll go knight to b6. Although I think sometimes bishop e6 is the move. But the whole point of this setup, which I have played in videos previously, is to try and pile up a ton of pressure on d4. Bishop e3 offering the bishop. That's very tempting, but I don't think I'm going to take it. Not just yet, anyway. I can always change my mind, because this bishop isn't going anywhere. And if my opponent takes, then that's the better bishop, so awesome. Okay, this is clearly the idea, so I should probably snap the bishop now. Even though I don't like this, looks a little bit concerning, but it should be fine. And it kind of blocks my bishop off, but not really. This bishop f5 move looks nice as well, because I can try and get this in, although... Yeah, actually, I don't know why I played that. This looks pretty scary. Oh, no, I don't like this. Here. That looks okay. I'm going to play that. I can't allow white to build up a massive center. I need to try and fight back quickly. So I need to strike in the center. Not a move I considered. Okay. Can I do this? That's a strong move from my opponent. If I go here, take. Oh, wait. Here, take. No, it's not particularly good. Not particularly good, because the bishop comes to a6 most likely. If here, then this looks pretty scary. Maybe I do have to go for this. Maybe I do. I'm going to go for it. I don't see a better option. This is a tough position. My opponent's played this well. I think bishop to f5 was a mistake. I think that was a mistake, because it just made the bishop vulnerable to the move e4. Somehow I completely blanked on knight c3. No idea why. I can't really excuse that. I wanted to play the move knight to a5, but I thought the bishop just drops back to somewhere, and I've got nothing. My knight's stranded, and it's actually really vulnerable to b4, and my knight might not have any moves. Okay, this is okay. I like this, because now I win the e5 square. I get the pawn out of the way, and I win the e5 square, so I get this with tempo. Obviously, if takes, I have takes, I believe. I think I have takes. Here. Queen e2. Neurotoxin Apologetics. Very interesting name. How's it going? I think Queen e2 is the move. And it's not simple to play. Queen e2, if take, that looks very bad because f5 is going to fall. So I think probably knight d6, defending e4. If take, if takes, then takes. That's okay. I have a strong bishop. The d-pawn is also strong, but we have equal material. If queen e2, knight d6, knight takes g7, king takes g7, my knight is a really good blockader of this d-pawn. I'm also defending e4. I can also probably play the move f5 to over-defend the e-pawn. And although the d-pawn is quite scary, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Viewer with a new user. Oh. What's the original name then? Yeah, I think I probably have to go back. I don't see a better option. I can't. No, that doesn't help. That's a bad move. That's a bad move. So yeah, knight back makes sense. And okay, my opponent goes for this. If this, then this. Okay, yeah. Now I think I probably go f5. And I preserve my bishop. And that's a strong bishop. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think most chess books, to be fair, Rotten Mouse, are going to be quite useful in general. Okay, so the queen puts pressure on b7. If b6, I think queen c6 looks a little bit annoying. I won't be streaming later on, I don't think. Maybe, but probably not. b6, queen, c6 takes, rook c8, rook d6. That looks not amazing. Maybe I just go rook f7. Just defend b7, prepare to bring the rook over if I want. That looks better. Let's ask the queen what it's doing in my territory. Oh, Cheyenne. That's a... Cheyenne Beiruti is a big stretch from Fritz Friedrich, but... Okay. Let's bring the rook into the c file. Maybe lift the rook up. Although then the queen comes over. Don't love that. I could win a pawn, to be honest. Oh, wait, no. Then there's a queen to e1 at the e8 at the end of the line. So let's do this instead. Okay. It's a good move. Wait, no it isn't. What am I on about? That just... what do I mean that's a good move? That just hangs a piece. Okay, cool. No, let's just move over. Let's take that. And then we'll win the pawn, and then that's game over. Awesome. GG. That was oof. That was a very, very tough game. Well played to my opponent. Very well played. Very well played. Okay, I'm gonna play one more. I think I've got to get going after that. To be honest, which I'd love to play for longer, but I don't think I can. So let's make this a good one. Caro-Kann, 2 knights. Oh, we'll play the Gurgenitsa. If you guys have been watching the channel for a bit of time, you you will know that this is a line I really like, and a lot of people take, and this is actually quite good for black. This is quite good for black. Yeah, because my bishop gets out to g7, and it's just a really strong bishop. Caro sucks if you get it wrong. Well, you could say the same about most openings, though. I feel like. No, let's go e6 first. Maybe I want to go knight to e7 instead. I just don't like that if knight f6, knight to e5, take, the knight comes under attack. And it doesn't really have a good square to go to, because the queen is on d7. So I think I prefer knight to e7. And knight f5, you can see how the pressure on d4 could build really, really quickly. Oh, Rawhide, thank you for that. I'll definitely get back to you when I get around to seeing that. This is a very interesting idea. Trying to team up with a dark squared bishop. But if knight b5, I think I can just castle, to be honest. Okay, that's the plan. Cool, cool, cool. I could go knight to f5. I could go h5. Because if castles, bishop h6... Actually, no, that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind that. Although typically you don't want to be giving up a fianchettoed bishop, I don't think it's the end of the world. Because knight f5, and I mean, my knights, I think, make up for the loss of the bishop, I would argue. And then, I mean, I can go h6, I can go h5. Again, the d-pawn is very weak. Karakal, thank you. The growth has been insane on the channel, honestly. I did not see it coming at all. So, yeah, really, really cool. Okay, I should probably take that. Yeah, I should probably get rid of that. That knight is way too strong. Way too strong. D takes looks the most aesthetically pleasing, but I think rook takes is the better move. Still, d4 is very weak. g4 might be on the way. So maybe h5 should be played. Stopping g4. That's a very, this kind of setup is very common in the French and the Caro. Very common sort of setup. Locking down the light squares with the pawns, and then the knight can see a lot of the dark squares. And it's very difficult to get rid of this knight, particularly in the advanced variation lines where the e-pawn has either disappeared or it's on e5. And as long as you stop g4, then I mean, this knight can't really be gotten rid of. Okay. Let's start instigating. b5. I want to go b4 and kick the knight. Okay, let's go a5. Let's insist on the move b4. And because my opponent is clearly turning his attention towards the king side, so I want to try to attack him on the queen side. Okay, I'm probably preparing the move g4, but that's not particularly scary. Not particularly scary. Let's bring the rook over to c8. Probably want to lift it up. Yeah, no, this is fine. This is not a problem. Just take. And then I think that you could argue that white is even more exposed than me. I could go knight to h4, threatening knight to f3. But I don't know. A move like queen to f4, and I mean, well, maybe not queen f4. Maybe rook to e3. And why is my knight over there? So let's go knight back to d6. Let's go knight back to d6 instead. Well, my knight now defends b5, which means my queen can go and do something else if she wants. I'm also potentially threatening to jump into c4 or e4 with attacks on the queen, which could be quite useful. Okay, the queen slides up. I think now's a perfect time to play b4. The queen isn't threatening anything. Let's kick the knight and open up the c file for my rook. So my rook applies constant pressure to the c2 pawn, which the queen is currently defending, which means the queen simply can't move as much as she otherwise would like to do. Okay, the knight moves. Taking makes no sense. Queen takes looks pretty strong. So maybe just rook h8, getting on the h-file before white does. That looks pretty good. Let's play it, rook h8. And we could try and start an attack like this, which wouldn't be ridiculous. We could jump a knight in. Little bit concerned about this. Little bit. Here, f3. No, that doesn't... That's not a move. Knight... No. Maybe that isn't a problem. No, that should be fine if he takes on e6. This is an interesting move. Probably has to do this. Maybe I should have just tried to lift the queen over. Whoa. Nah, but then I can just play rook takes g4, and I can take with a rook. And then there's nothing. Then there's nothing. If I take with the pawn, maybe I'm in a bit of trouble on g6. I mean, I'm probably still fine, but this is cleaner because my pawn on f7 is better than the pawn being on g6 because e6 is well defended, g6 is well defended. I can probably play knight to f5, and I'm just up a clean piece. Yeah, my opponent can keep trying to attack me, but I don't think any of it works because we have way too much control over the light squares. Maybe I could have gone knight c4 earlier on. Yeah, that's fine. But, I mean, I opted for this. The way that I've gone about the position, which I think is also just fine. Let's bring the knight to f5. Reason being, I don't want to allow the rook over to the h-file to potentially cause problems. And now we can just infiltrate. I mean, this setup is very, very powerful. My queen doesn't have to be around anymore. So I can just go about attacking with the queen. And that's mate. Awesome. GG. GG. All right. I have got to get going. Thank you all for tuning into the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be doing more of these at some point as well. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. And check out the other videos on my channel. They're really good. So, yeah,